Hello everyone and welcome to Technology Tuesdays hosted by Out of the Box Technology. We're so excited to bring you these free weekly webinars that focus on some of our partner apps, tips and tricks from in and outside of QuickBooks, hot topics that our industry is encountering, and things going on here at Out of the Box Technology. My name is Jennifer, and I work in business development here at Out of the Box Technology, and I'm really happy to be your moderator this and every week as we deliver the presentations. If you have any questions as today's session is going along, please feel free to send those over to me via the chat box on your GoToWebinar control panel, and I'll give those over to our presenter at the end of the session. A little bit about us here at Out of the Box Technology, excuse me, is that we are a QuickBooks training, integration, hosting, and support solution. We have a whole team of consultants that are just absolute experts on QuickBooks. So if you're looking to get your books cleaned up, migrate to QuickBooks, whatever the case is with your company, we are here for you. We also have a whole bookkeeping team as well as an IT and development team that does website design, custom app development, data migrations, and the like. So today we are really excited to welcome our friends over at TSheets. We've had a couple of presentations with them in the last couple of months, and we know that their app is extremely popular with our audience as well. So today I would like to welcome TSheets, and we're going to go over unleashing the power of TSheets with QuickBooks Online. So at this point, I will hand it over to our esteemed presenter, and she will take it away. Debbie, I'll give things over to you.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. And hi, everyone. This is Debbie with TSheets. So very excited to be with you today. I love being able to show what TSheets can do, and perhaps more importantly, today is show what it does in relation to QBO. So just a little bit of background on who we are. TSheets is a cloud-based scheduling and time tracking solution. We've been around since oh goodness, the year is escaping me. It's the year my son was born. I shouldn't forget this. 2006, spring of 2006 was when TSheets was born. Basically, we're going on 13 years this spring. A year ago, we were acquired by Intuit. I guess they decided that we do scheduling and time tracking in an amazing way, and the way we integrate and have always integrated with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop is really powerful. And so they chose to acquire TSheets, and so now we are a part of the Intuit family. Really exciting to see what comes with that even deeper relationship as the years go on. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right on into my TSheets account. When I log in here, I'm going to log in as Raymond, who is the administrator on
Debbie?
my account. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to pause you for a second.
It's okay.
I'm not seeing that you're sharing your screen yet. If you want to do that.
Uh-oh. Oh, dear. Thank you so much for catching me on that.
No problem.
I was so excited I just dove right in.
Absolutely.
Oops. Hold on just a sec. Let me do this. Why is it not sharing? Hold on. Hang on just a sec. There we go. Perfect.
Great.
That's better. Thank goodness. Okay, thank you so much for catching me.
Yeah.
Gotta love a live webinar, right? And all the fun things that come along with it. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. So when I log in here, I'm just going to go to my TSheets demo account. Now, every TSheets account has its own URL or TSheets account name. That's how we keep them separate and unique on our end. I'm logging in as the administrator, who's Raymond, and with having that administrator permission, I'm able to do literally everything within that TSheets account. We do have different permission levels. We understand that people within a company are not one size fits all, and so therefore we do have different permission levels that we can set for different people and customize those to some extent. Now, when I log in here, I'm actually going to clock Raymond out really quickly because I want him off the clock. I think somebody popped into my demo account earlier today and clocked him in. But when we log into TSheets, really our very biggest, the main thing that we do is time tracking. So we can track time toward projects, toward customers, jobs, tasks, or activities, what QuickBooks would call a service item. We can even track time toward classes if that's what you need to do, classes that were brought over from QuickBooks. We also, in addition to time tracking, we do have a scheduling component that's available. The nice thing about the scheduling component, and I'll pop that open first before I show you the time tracking piece. The nice thing with the scheduling component is you can schedule things out to be repeating events. You can make them one-time events. I have a scheduled event up here at the top that's not yet assigned to anybody. We have this great little, when I'm not on my laptop, drag and drop feature. that where we can just drag and drop things down to other people or other days. And I think with my laptop, it's just user error how I tend to. Oh goodness. There we go. When I'm on my laptop and I'm away from my desk, I don't have my mouse. I got to tell you, the little mouse pad on a laptop, no matter how many years I have worked with them, I still tend to just go click happy and don't know how that happens. But anyway, so with the schedule, you can make things repeating. You can make them a one-time event. You can color code. You can assign to employees. You can drag and drop them to other people. There's really a lot that we can do with the schedule, and it interacts with our mobile app in an amazing way. With TSheets, you can track time on a computer, on a laptop, on with our kiosk mode. You can use like an iPad or a tablet to track time. We have apps built for both Android and iPhone devices, so you can track time on any Android or iPhone device. So there's really a lot of flexibility there, or just on your regular old computer at your desk. And that's how I track my time every day. Here at TSheets, we do use our own product. We do track our own time, whether we're hourly or salary. We're all tracking our time here. And I use the computer for mine. I know some of my coworkers use their phone, while others use the kiosk that we have set up in the lobby. So it's really sort of personal preference and how the admin decides to set that TSheets account up. So when I'm here on my TSheets dashboard, first thing I see is my primary method of tracking time. Now that can be set by the administrator. It might be what we're looking at here, which is what I call the punch style time card. It's called the time clock technically, but this one is capturing start and stop times. In other words, I'm sort of punching in and punching out to different jobs. So let's say that Raymond needs to, maybe he's going into a staff meeting, so he's going to track time to that staff meeting. He'll just hit clock in, his timer starts. Because in my account, I'm tracking service items and whether or not time is billable, he can very easily add those things. And then there's a notes field where he can put in a note. So maybe it's the monthly staff meeting. Okay, so you don't have to get that granular in how you're tracking time. You don't have to track to specifically a staff meeting if you don't want to. I also have in here customers that I imported from QuickBooks, and some of these customers actually have sub-jobs. So let's say that Raymond is done with his staff meeting and he is ready to switch over and start working on a customer's project, and he's going to work on the Reddington, now let's say the Meacham Cabin project. So he'll just choose Meacham Cabin. You notice I didn't have to clock out and clock back in. I just chose that new customer. I'm going to choose sub-job of kitchen. That's a sub-job I brought over from QuickBooks. And then I can go ahead and select, in my instance, a service item, since I am tracking service items, and whether or not it's billable. Now, it might seem like a lot to track time to a customer, a sub-job, a service item, and whether or not the time is billable, but you can see it only takes a couple clicks of a button. It is so super easy to track time. What's the benefit in that? Two things. One, payroll. If you are running payroll based on that time that was tracked, you're getting very, very accurate payroll. You're not getting the hours that somebody guessed at the end of the week or the end of the pay period where, they're like, well, gosh, I'm pretty sure I worked 8 hours every day and, that's what I'm supposed to work, so I'm just going to put down 8. Well, that person may have taken a longer lunch one day. They may have come in a little bit later. They may have left a little bit early. They might have worked longer than 8 hours one day. When we're tracking time on paper, we really have no idea what was truly worked, unless that person is putting that time down every day. And most people who are tracking time on paper just don't. I remember my old job. before coming here to TSheets, we tracked our time on paper, and I would sit down with that wretched paper time card at the end of the pay period. I honestly, as an employee, felt it was wretched, with my pen, and if I made a mistake, then I was scribbling out, and because I could never find a pencil, and so I was scribbling it out and just guessing at what I had worked every day, and so I wasn't being paid for what I truly worked. I was being paid for what I guessed that I had worked, and I typically just put 8s down across every day because, well, I was full-time, so that's just what I did. I may have worked longer, I may have worked less, who knows, because it was paper and I was doing it 2 weeks after the fact. With TSheets and being able to track time in this very easy but very granular way to your customers, your sub-jobs, things like that. For one thing, it's going to help you with job costing, and for another, it's going to get you very accurate payroll. And if you're marking the time billable, so if Raymond were to mark this time yes for billable, when that time goes over to QuickBooks, we're going to be able to very easily push it to a customer invoice, and then you're invoicing that customer for the accurate time that was tracked. Okay? So lots of great reasons to kind of make that shift from paper to electronic, and because the accuracy, the efficiency of it. I'm going to show you the efficiency in just a few minutes. But that's just, a couple reasons off the top why switching to electronic is really beneficial. So when Raymond is done with this Meacham Cabin Kitchen project, he can just go down the line, find the next thing he wants to work on, and just switch to that. There is a search feature, so maybe he knows that the next thing he wants to work on is Project 2017-0106 for Juniper Lane. Well, he can just use that search bar. It'll get him a short list of any customer or sub-job that has those characters in it. And just switch over there, choose his new service item and billable option, whatever that might be, and there's a brand new notes field where he can put in some fresh notes about what he did on that Juniper Lane project today. At the end of the day, he just hits the big red clock out button and he's off the clock. We can also track breaks within TSheets if you want. If you want to set up things like lunch breaks or rest breaks, those can be tracked as well. Now, as Raymond was clocking in and out to those different customers and jobs, I don't know if any of you noticed over here on the right-hand side, there's this Who's Working window. And on this Who's Working window, it tells me who's currently on the clock and what they're working on, as well as how long they've been on the clock so far today. So Raymond has tracked, not a whole lot of time. Well, an hour and 43 minutes so far today. And right now he's working on this Juniper Lane project. Mira's been on the clock for 3 hours and 22 minutes. I can see from this little icon that she is on the mobile app. Now, one nice thing about the mobile app, oh my goodness, except I think I have GPS turned off on my phone today. Or, yep, I do. Darn, I wish I had noticed that earlier. I should have a GPS map of where I went this morning, but I don't. I think I must have turned GPS off on my phone. I am so sorry. I can't show you the really cool GPS map of where I'm sitting right now. But when somebody is tracking time on the mobile app, and as long as they haven't turned GPS off, then you can get their location of where they were when they while they've been on the clock. We only track when they're on the clock. We don't track when they're on their personal time. Thank goodness for that. I will show you another GPS map in just a moment, though, of where Mira was yesterday. So we can see who's been on the clock for longest. We can see what they're working on. It looks like Donald forgot to clock out yesterday as an administrator. I can resolve that with this edit option right here in this Who's Working window. Now, one nice thing, too, about that Who's Working window is as an administrator or as a manager, you're able to see that window from TSheets, whether you're on the computer view of it or what we call the web dashboard. That's what I'm looking at right now, is the web dashboard. You can see that from your mobile app. So you can really see, no matter what time of day it is, no matter where you are, you can make sure that your employees are on the clock when they're supposed to be. You might think, well, that's a little big brother. Well, but if you have multiple locations, I'm thinking of, well, our co-founder, Matt Rissell, when he started TSheets, he actually had 4 separate locations of another franchise business, and he couldn't be in 4 places at one time. So he had no idea. He trusted that his openers were opening the shops on time. He trusted that the closers were staying there until they were supposed to close. But he really had no idea because he couldn't be in all 4 places at one time, right? And he certainly couldn't be at the store open to close. Well, I mean, he could have, but, every day. So the nice thing about TSheets, and when he got together with his friend Brandon, who's a programmer, and they're both actually still with the company, when they got together and decided to build this time tracker, Brandon was just building it for Matt. And but one thing he said he wanted was the ability to see, no matter where he was, he wanted to be able to see who was on the clock. And that's how this Who's Working window came about. It was peace of mind for him to know that his openers in all of his different locations open the store on time, or that his closers were there clocking out at closing time as opposed to clocking out early or late. So this is really great peace of mind, especially if you can't be on site with your employees and you have the type of business where you really need to make sure that they are there. Restaurants love this. Retail loves this. Construction loves this. There's just lots and lots of different industries that really benefit from this Who's Working window. Personally, here at TSheets, I use it. If I need to talk with one of my coworkers that's like up on the 3rd floor and I'm on the 1st floor and I don't know if they're in yet, I just hit up the Who's Working window. I like to sort mine alphabetically, and then I just go down the list and see if they're on the clock. If they're on the clock and there's somebody that typically works here in the office, then I just run upstairs and see them. But that's how I personally use the Who's Working window here at TSheets. Now, if you have any questions, do make sure you put them in that question panel, and we will answer all of them when we get to the end. Now, let's say that you have a business where you have a lot of salaried workers, and you don't really care that they're, punching a time clock, right? Clocking in, clocking out. That's not so important. Well, we have an option that is different than that time clock, and that is this manual time card. I find a lot of businesses like architectural firms, law firms, things like that really like this, engineering firms really like this punched out time card because typically they have salaried workers, so they don't really care so much for payroll, but they do need to keep an eye on how much time is being spent per project. And you can do that with this Who's Working, or with this manual time card. So let's say that Raymond, for example, let's say that yesterday he also worked on this Juniper Lane project, but he didn't enter his time. Well, he can just click there in that particular cell for yesterday for Juniper Lane. He can indicate the service item. He can indicate that billable choice, and he can put in the number of hours. Maybe he worked 4.5 hours on that. You can put in as hours or hours and as decimals or hours and minutes. It's completely up to you. If he needed to choose a new customer to track some time toward, he would just click on No Customer. He would find that. You might see I have testing project in there quite a bit. That's actually from the new projects feature within QBO. We can import those projects from QBO, and they show up in TSheets as a subjob to the customer. So that's why I do have testing project as a lot of my what look like subjobs, but it's just those projects that I imported from QuickBooks Online. And then let's say maybe yesterday I worked an hour and 20 minutes on this fundraising project, and I was doing some administrative work, and no, that's not billable, but I do still have that notes field. We do have that notes field here in the manual time card as well. Now, using the manual time card is permission-based. A person has to have, they either have to be an administrator or they have to have the Manage My Timesheets permission in order to manually enter those hours. In other words, not everybody has naturally permission to do that. You do have to set those permissions for the appropriate people. All right. So while I'm here still in my time entries section, I'm going to go ahead and scoot right next door to this timesheets page. Now with the timesheets page, this is a list of every single timesheet I ever created in my TSheets account. Now, with this, my TSheets demo account is 4 years old because I've been with TSheets for just over 4 years. This account is 4 years old, and I can still run reports on what I was doing in my TSheets account in February of 2015. We maintain the integrity of that data for as long as your TSheets account is open. The nice thing about that is if you ever need to run reports on time from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you don't have to print out all of those timesheets and store them somewhere. TSheets will store them for you. And then you can just very easily run a report and get that data at any time you need. Or if you end up with an audit or, heaven forbid, a labor dispute, we'll keep that data intact for you if you ever need it in the future. Now here on this page, I'm going to go to last week, and I'm going to take a look here at Mira. So I see here that Mira uses the mobile app because her location column is telling me that she's on the app, and we have this little GPS mark. Here's a map for us. So on this particular day, I clocked Mira in when I was leaving my house in the morning and dropped my daughter off at school, went to work. I was at work all day. Looks like this was the day I popped into the chiropractor after work and then went back home again. So with these GPS maps, again, it's only tracking their location when they're on the clock. So you can't see me when I have Mira off the clock, just when she's on the clock on working hours. Nice thing about that is, let's say you have a client who is an HVAC business, right? And so this time of year, maybe somebody's furnace goes out, and it's somebody I like putting things into actual real life instances. I hope that doesn't annoy anybody. But let's say it's a home that has some elderly people, and we need to get that furnace fixed right away because it's like 10 degrees outside, and we've got to get that fixed. Well, the nice thing about having the GPS maps for those workers that are out in the field, out there fixing those furnaces and doing what they do, is that you can actually see a map of where everybody is all at one time from that who's working window. And from there, you can see who's closest to this person whose furnace went out, or and then maybe cross-reference that with who's going to be done with their next job, and that really helps with making sure that you're sending the right person to the right place. Helps with efficiency in that way. Also, here in this who's working with, or I'm sorry, gosh, words are hard on this Technology Tuesday, isn't it? And for us, honestly, it's TSheets Tuesday, so it's kind of exciting. It's like TSheets Technology Tuesday, which makes it really fun. So here you can also see an audit log of what's been happening on any given timesheet. So here I can see that Raymond tracked his own time on January 30th, and then Mira came in later, and she actually clocked him out because Raymond forgot to clock himself out, and Mira she has permission to edit his timesheets. So we can see where Raymond clocked himself in, set his service item, and all those good things. Mira went in later and clocked him out because he forgot to. So these audit logs are set in stone. They're one of the few things in TSheets that cannot be edited in any way, shape, or form. Great peace of mind if anybody ever questions their timesheet. That happened one time. I got a call from one of our bookkeeping professionals, and somebody had gotten their paycheck. They were in a panic. They thought they had been shorted on hours. They just started using TSheets. That made me panic because I thought, oh my goodness, what happened? Well, we went back and looked at all of the audit logs for that particular employee, and none of their timesheets had been modified. So what we think really happened was, when they were on paper timesheets, that employee was just rounding off their hours every day. And when they went to TSheets, found out that, wow, nope, she wasn't quite working her, typical 40 hours. She was working less than that, but she didn't realize it because on paper it's hard to know, when we're just guesstimating what we did. So thankfully, there were no edits to that employee's timesheets, and everything was, completely on the up and up, and it's unfortunate that she actually wasn't working as many hours as everybody thought she was, including herself. But audit logs are nice for that, to be able to see what's gone on any given timesheet. There's also this little edit button where you can make an edit to a timesheet as well if you need to. Again, editing timesheets, permission-based. Managers can do it. Administrators can do it. Employees can if they have that manage my timesheets permission. Okay, but it is all based on that permission. So lots of great things we can do in this time entries area. Now, let's talk about a couple of the different reports that we can run really briefly, and then I'm going to show you how to get this time over into QuickBooks Online and what you can do with it there. Now, we do integrate with both QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. We integrate with a number of different payroll solutions and different things like that. So, but today we're focusing just on QBO because I want you to see how that interaction between TSheets and QBO works, and really how efficient it can make you, especially if you're running payroll through QuickBooks Online or doing your customer invoicing that way. But first, let's go ahead and talk paid time off, and then we'll hit up a couple of different approvals. With paid time off, I like to point this out because as an employee, I really, really like this feature of TSheets. When you're tracking your paid time off in TSheets and you set your accruals there, as an employee, I can go into my paid time off area, and I do this frequently, and I can see my different paid time off types, how many hours I have available. Now, you can customize your paid time off within TSheets. So I have in this account holiday, jury duty, sick time, and vacation. You can have more types, you can have fewer types. It's really up to you and how you have your payroll set up, how many different types of PTO you have. Now, with this, Raymond can see that he has 285, almost 286 hours of vacation available. He really needs to take some time off. Now, as an employee, I love this. I love that I can go into my TSheets account and I can just very easily see how many hours of vacation I have available. And then if Raymond is going to take a day off, so let's say he's going to take Friday off as vacation time and he puts in those 8 hours, for example, it immediately drops his balance down. So I've already scheduled and gotten permission to take a week off in July. The week after the 4th of July, I'm going to Yellowstone with my family. And I've already put that 40 hours of vacation into TSheets. So I know that when I go into my paid time off section in TSheets, in our staff account, I am looking at what I have available after I take off March 29th, which I'm taking off just for fun, and after I take off that week in July. So I always know how many hours I can play around with. I don't have to do the math. I don't have to see, oh, wow, it says I have 60 hours, but I'm taking that week off, so I really only have 20. No, if I've already put those hours into TSheets, I know that my balance there is accurate after that future paid time off that I've already arranged for is taken. So this, again, as an employee, love, love, love this feature. I'm not sure how much, I mean, honestly, I'm thinking, can I spin this as a value add for admins? I don't know. Yes, actually, I can, and it's not even spinning it. In all honesty, at my old job, I didn't like to have to go online to ask my boss how much PTO I had, so quite often, or I mean, to see how much PTO I had, because it was kind of a pain to get into our HR system at my previous employer. So I used to go ask my boss, and he'd look it up for me. Now that's being a pain in the bum, isn't it, as an employee? But I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to go find it on the HR site. I don't have to go ask my boss. I can just look in the pay time off section in our staff account and see what I have available. All right, let's talk about some reports. Now, within TSheets, we have probably 25 or 30 different reports available. We have a whole bunch of them. There's tons of different reports that we have available in here. There's only a couple, though, that I want to hit today. One is the project report. Now, with all of our reports, you can run those for a variety of date ranges. And for this project report, I want to take a look at year to date and see what we've been doing. Okay, so year to date, I can choose if I want to view that report in decimals, hours, and minutes. I can choose, how I want to sort it. Let me just go ahead and run that report. So this is showing me that year to date, my employees have tracked just over 938 hours. And I can see down below the customers that they've tracked time toward, percentage of time, as well as actual hours. If my employees are set up into groups or departments or teams or anything like that, I can see the breakdown by group, breakdown by employee. I'm tracking whether or not time is billable, and I have a massive problem. Do you see that? This is saying that year to date that 73% of my time has been non-billable. That's a disaster if my business is built on billable hours. Holy smokes, I need to rectify that. And then 23%, or 21%, sorry, was marked yes for billable. And then we have some that's not set. Those are things like paid time off or breaks, things like that, where we're not marking whether or not it's billable. And then down below that, I have that breakdown by service item. Now we can drill in more deeply to any piece of the pie. So let's say I want to take a look at this Meacham Cabin, this 31%. And hopefully Meacham Cabin is my largest client right now because they're definitely taking up the lion's share of our time. So now I'm seeing a breakdown by Meacham Cabin subjobs, which groups have worked on that particular customer, which employees have worked there, how much of that time was billable versus not billable. Again, I've got a problem with my billable being way off kilter. And then my breakdown by service item. So I can see exactly what's happening on any given job. Now, another thing you can get to from within this project report, it's one of the things I like the most, it's an employee job costing report. Now with this one, I'm going to go ahead and include my service item. I do like to group it by my job code, and I do like to calculate the totals and run report. Looks like I need to fix Frank's wage, and that's fine. I can do that later. Now, what this is basing the dollars off of. Okay, so we have, for example, Park Center Plaza. I can see which employees have worked there, what service items, because I asked to include the service items, their rate of pay, their hours, and then as I scroll over, if they've had any overtime, it'll give me all of the overtime and all that good stuff. And then I can see that year-to-date estimated cost of those hours is just shy of $5,000. Okay. Now you might be wondering, well, where is this rate of pay coming from? Good question. So we do not import the rate of pay from QuickBooks or from your payroll software. Instead, you put the rate of pay into TSheets manually. Now, anytime I say manually, I always sort of cringe on the inside. However, in this instance, it's a good thing because let's say that Harold's actual rate of pay is, or let's go with Raymond. I can do that math a lot easier and faster in my head. Let's say that Raymond's actual rate of pay is $50 an hour. Okay, but we want this job costing report to be fully burdened. We want to include in things like overhead costs, materials, benefits, taxes, all of those types of things, right? We want to make this more fully burdened. But if we just have in, $50 an hour for Raymond, that's not fully burdened. That's just, your total basic labor costing report. But most, a lot of businesses we work with, they know roughly the percentage that they need to add to that rate of pay to make this a more fully burdened job costing report. So in my example here, I'm grossing Raymond's pay up by 50%. So from $50 to $75, grossing it by 50% to get this closer to a more fully burdened job costing report. So that's one way that you can use this report within TSheets if you need job costing. But if it's, if you're having, difficult time getting that out of your accounting software. So that is, that job costing report is available. The nice thing is it's available 24/7. You don't have to wait until after payroll is run to run that job costing report. You can run it anytime you want, which makes it really handy. So project report's one of my favorites. Job costing report, probably my second favorite. Approvals report. This is one that is critical if we're going to be exporting time to QuickBooks, whether it's QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop, but we'll focus on online. But it is absolutely critical to run your approvals report and get those hours approved before we export them. Okay, I'm going to run this for the last pay period. Now I'm taking a look at my employees' hours for the last pay period. Now we do have color coding. Red means that somebody hit overtime. So Mira hit overtime in that last pay period. So green are regular hours, red are overtime hours, blue over here is paid time off. Now if you want to see what any particular person was working on, maybe I want to take a look at what Dembe was working on for his 44 hours, I can hit View Details, scroll down, and take a look at his timesheets. Timesheets can be edited here if they need to, or if he forgot to enter in some time, I can go ahead and just enter in a timesheet for him. Maybe I'm going to put in 8 hours of sick time for him. Do I have sick time? Yes, I do. Assigned to him. There we go. Just making sure. Oh, but I don't have accrual set up for him on sick time. Sorry about that. Let me change that. I'm hoping I have accrual set up for him for vacation. This is not good when I just wing it. There we go. Without checking to make sure I have those accruals set up first. Oh, you know what? And we just did something that's totally user error that I always do. My goodness. So what I did is I forgot to change my date back. So I'm going to change this date. And like I said, it's user error. It happens to me all the time. You'd think I would learn after 4 years, but no, not so much. There we go. We're going to get his vacation in there correctly. Excellent. Now I have that day of vacation in here for him, and we've increased his hours from 44 to 52, and it's showing a little bit of paid time off over here. Once the time looks good, just hit that approve button. Dembe's timesheets are now locked for editing, and they're ready to export. You can just hit this export approved time button, and those hours will head right on over to QuickBooks Online. Okay. Or you can actually go up here to your QuickBooks button and you can export it from here as well. So you actually have choices, either to export from the approvals report or to export from the QuickBooks button within TSheets. Completely up to you, whichever way you feel like doing it. And I have quite a few hours to export because I haven't done it in a while, so it's going to take just a minute. Now, when we send that time over to QuickBooks, okay, now I just popped into my QuickBooks Online account, and when we send the time to QuickBooks, where we send it is to the plus sign and then to the weekly timesheet. Now, I do get a question quite frequently, well, don't you send it directly to payroll? No, we actually don't, and it's a good thing. In my opinion, it's a good thing that we don't. I'm going to look at Mira here, and I'm going to look at last week. Nope, nope. Let's look at the week before that. There we go. Now, we send it here to the weekly timesheet. Why is this a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because it gives you the opportunity to take a look at it one more time if you want to, and make any additional edits over there on the QuickBooks side. Also, if we sent it directly to payroll, it may not also go over to your customer invoicing. Now, we send it here to the weekly timesheet. From the weekly timesheet, you can very easily get those hours into QuickBooks, or sorry, into QuickBooks payroll, or you can get them to your customer invoicing. All right, so you actually have a choice on that of where you want to send it. Now, you might notice that there is the ability to approve time here in QuickBooks Online as well. Now, this is a newer feature that we have. It rolled out actually within the last year, where you can, and I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because I don't want to be too confusing, but you can also approve that time from TSheets here in QBO. So if you don't want to approve it in TSheets, you're working in your QBO account, you have that access to it, you can always just approve it there in QBO directly. Now, if I go to payroll, pop over into my payroll section and look at, there we go, that last time pay period, and we can see Mira's 96 hours are right here. Okay. Now, what we do with those hours, let me see if I can pick let's see if I can get a pay period up that might have some, hold on, I'm looking for one where I've actually sent over some paid time off or some overtime. Oh, shoot. Well, I need to be a little bit better in the time that I'm sending over, because you might see here, these are all different payroll items or wage items in QBO. Within TSheets, we can track the time and assign it to the correct wage item. So when it comes over here to QuickBooks payroll, it pops into the right, I call it bucket, but into the right payroll item, and which will assign the right dollar value to that. But the hours from TSheets, once they're approved and you send them to QuickBooks, they land in the weekly timesheet. From that weekly timesheet, you can hop over into payroll if you're running payroll within QuickBooks and see the hours available right there. And then the other thing that we can do is customer invoicing. So remember how I was marking some of my time billable? Well, if we go over here to my customer invoicing area, one thing I like to point out is up here at the top, this unbilled activities. So in my account, all of my billable activities are time entries that I marked yes for billable. So this is telling me that I have 156 time entries with the value of just over $63,000 that I have yet to invoice out. I could click on this and it would take me to a list of those entries, those time entries that need to be invoiced. But I'm going to actually just stay right here where I'm at. Now, let's say that I want to go ahead and do some invoicing for Juniper Lane. I'm going to go over here to create invoice. And then over here on the right-hand side, these are all time entries from TSheets that were marked billable, and I have not yet invoiced them out. See if I can find another one with a note on it. I'm very bad about putting notes on my time entries. Well, this first one did at least. So this hello in the description, this is a note that was put on the timesheet in TSheets, and it can carry over all the way to the invoicing if you want it to. The quantity is number of hours. The rate is tied to that service item. In QuickBooks, so we don't bring the rate into TSheets or send it back. That lives within QuickBooks specifically. And you can make edits here if you need to. Let's say you want to round this bookkeeping entry up to 10 hours. You can certainly do this. The timesheets themselves are not impacted by that. The timesheets are still accurate in what time was actually tracked, but you can make that little change on your invoice if you want. And perhaps for this work I did on November 6th, maybe that was really only 5 hours worth of work that for some reason took longer. You can edit that quantity or that hour amount down if you wish. So you can make edits on your invoices before they get sent out. You can also add all of the time with one button, or you can do what I did, which was just add little bits here and there and save the rest of it for another time or another invoicing if you wish. Then when the invoice looks good, just hit save and fire that off to your client. Now, I really, really like that feature. I love the fact that you can very easily, very user-friendly way track the time in TSheets, very easily approve it, review it and approve it, make edits if you need, export it over to QuickBooks, and then once you're in QuickBooks, the time will flow over into your customer invoicing. You're still in control of when it hits that invoice. That is a question I get frequently, like, well, will TSheets just automatically create my invoices? No, we won't. And you don't want us to. I mean, frankly, you really don't want us to just automatically create those invoices. It's good to have those checks and balances, that safety net in place that, you might not want to invoice out all of that time immediately. You might want to make a modification to the invoice. So no, you really don't want TSheets automatically creating your invoices, but we get it into QuickBooks in a way that you can just very easily, with just a couple clicks of a button, get the time onto the invoice and make sure it looks right, and then get that sent out to your client. So from the, and the nice thing is too, if you notice up here, our billable activities have dropped, and we now just have $61,000 in uninvoiced activity out there. So you can really keep track of what you have and haven't invoiced very easily with QuickBooks Online. And that's, I really, honestly, I love the integration between TSheets and QBO. I think that they're both extremely user-friendly applications to use. Yeah, I'm a little bit biased about TSheets. I work here, but I think that they're both incredibly user-friendly. And I think, the power of being able to track your time over here in a way that, I need to go take a look at my sync log. It looks like I have an error on it. And I think it has to do with Raymond and his paid time off. I need to make an adjustment in QBO so he stops erroring out every time I try to send his paid time off over. But I love the fact that you can track your time in a very, very user-friendly way and capture a lot of data, really, on the TSheet side, and then get that easily sent over to QuickBooks where you can then do your payroll and do your invoicing. Makes it super efficient, and I love it when we can be efficient. I love it when we can minimize your data entry. And because I just cringe when I hear that people are tracking time on paper and then getting out their 10 key to add up all of those hours and differentiate between regular and overtime and paid time off, and forget about capturing what you did on each client, because it's hard enough just to know how many hours they worked, and then manually keying that all into payroll. To me, that sounds really painful. I mean, when it was the 90s and I was working in the mortgage business, I really liked my 10 key and I liked data entry, but it's not the 90s anymore. And, and I really, really like how we can do away with a lot of that when you marry up TSheets with your QuickBooks account, and let us kind of do the heavy lifting on all of that. Well, I think, Jennifer, it's a great time for us to take care of some questions. Were there any questions that came in throughout?
Yeah, thank you so much, Debbie. We do have a lot of questions here. I will just get started. So closer to the beginning of the presentation, a question asking, is the kiosk that you describe in your lab a separate workstation or a special device?
Oh, I love that question. And you know what? I'm going to be brave. I'm going to fire up my kiosk. And I say brave because it's going to also turn on the camera on my laptop. So let's see here. You can put a kiosk on a computer or a laptop. Typically, it's installed on a tablet, like an iPad or a Samsung device. We actually have one here in TSheets. It's an iPad. It's mounted to the wall in the lobby, but it's really up to the client to decide what they want it on. It just has to be on a device with a consistent internet connection. So if it's a tablet that's going to be in a work truck and it's not going to have that consistent internet connection, kiosk won't work, but mobile app will, because the mobile app does work when it's out of coverage area or doesn't have internet connection. The app will work. It just uploads the data when you get back into like your Wi-Fi area or something like that. However, with kiosk, and I'm going to say that I'm going to be Jennifer, I think. Let's hope that I remember her. Oh, she needs to create a pin. She hasn't done one yet. Cool. Sometimes my pin numbers get messed with. There we go. So with kiosk, one thing that it'll do is when the person first clocks in or uses the kiosk, it's going to tell them, hey, well, in my case, I have my my kiosk configured to take a photo upon clock in. Hi! I am in a very boring white room. Actually, the walls around me have whiteboards on them, just not the one behind me. Anyway, hello, this is Debbie. So with kiosk, you can configure it, or you can set it to take a photo upon clock in and clock out, which is how I have mine set. So she can either just clock into the last job she did, or we can go to select a customer, and she can say that she's working on Meacham Cabin landscape project. I'm going to stop talking for a sec because it's going to take my picture when I when I hit clock in, and I don't like to be in mid-word because usually then I end up with a really dumb photo. So that's how the kiosk works. Super, super user-friendly, and yeah, it can be installed on any kind of device that has a consistent internet connection. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked.
That's really cool, actually. I think that
Yeah.
will like from clocking in for other people, right? With the photo recognition thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so our next question is more, it starts as a comment, but it says, we're a healthcare staffing company employing friends as independent contracts. We're interested in how this would work for us to track their hours. They all work remotely. Also, our feature when they cannot clock hours until granted permission from a supervisor.
Okay. Wow, great question. So we do have a lot of clients that have independent contractors tracking their time within TSheets. If those contractors, or those 1099 contractors, are set up as vendors or contractors within QuickBooks, we can import them right along with the employees. They track their time in TSheets just like everybody else does. They can use the mobile app if they have permission for the app. They can use a computer. They track their time just like everybody else. We send those hours back to QuickBooks, and then in QuickBooks, you do need to create your vendor bill for to pay them, but yeah, they can absolutely track their hours just like everybody else. Jennifer, what was the last piece of that question? Something to do with not tracking hours until a certain time?
Yeah, it says, is there a feature where they can't clock their hours until granted a permission from their supervisor?
Okay. If I'm understanding this correctly, it sounds like they're asking if we can basically prevent them from entering in or tracking their hours until their supervisor gives them permission. I would say no. I don't have a way to stop them from tracking their hours. However, with the approvals feature, that supervisor can be given the ability to go in and review and approve the hours. So I can't stop the person from entering the hours in the first place. We don't have a functionality where a supervisor has to go kind of like open the gate for somebody to enter in their hours. However, we do have the approvals process after they've entered them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The next question is, do you integrate with Wells Fargo payroll system?
Oh, you know what? I do like that one as well. We don't have a direct integration at this time with Wells Fargo. However, there's two different ways we can integrate with another system. One is a direct integration. It's like what we saw with that QuickBooks Online integration, right? It's just a direct connection, one to the other. With companies that we don't have that direct integration with, like Wells Fargo, we can do what we call a flat file. It's where you export a CSV file from TSheets that is formatted in a way that can then be imported into that other software. And actually, I was working with another client recently who does their payroll through Wells Fargo, and so they just went that flat file route where we got a file from Wells Fargo and how they needed it formatted. We just built the CSV to match that. And then what that looks like is it just ends up being a report like one of these Sage reports here, where you just click it, download it, and or sometimes they're put here under the custom area. But anyway, just click it, download it, and then upload it into the other system. So yes, we have done a flat file with Wells Fargo in the past.
Great, thank you so much. That's really helpful. Okay, our next question is, when recording time, how long can the description for the time recorded be? So, a character limit in any of those fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the notes field specifically, there's about a 2,000 character limit. So you can write a mini novel, really, or a really, really, really long essay. So about a 2,000 character limit on your notes field. With the customer name field or job name, this field here, I believe it's a 50 character limit on that. And we do have some clients that have had customer names or job names that were longer than 50 characters, and they had to shorten them because when we're integrated with QuickBooks, it actually, no, I think that might be in TSheets itself that it's a hard stop. I think it's in TSheets that we have that limit. But yeah, I believe with the jobs or customers, it's a 50 character limit. With the notes field, it's a 2,000 character limit.
Great, thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. When an employee, I think you answered this a little bit, but I'll just reword it in case not. When an employee clocks into the time clock, is it tied to the GPS? In other words, can you see where the employee is clocking in from, like from their home or their office?
Mm-hmm. Road? Yes. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, when they're using the phone, when they're using the mobile app, yes, it is tied to their GPS. And so, for example, on Thursday, if I drill this in closely, when I clocked Mira, oh, whoopsie, hold on. When I clocked Mira in, she was right here. And I could drill in even closer and show you my house because it's just a basic Google map. So yeah, you can see where they're clocking in. You can see where they're clocking out. And you can see where they've been throughout their day while they've been on the clock. This was a day I kind of went all over the place. My daughter has a babysitting gig right over here on Thursday night, so I'm kind of back and forth a lot. But anyway, yeah, so you can definitely see where they're clocking in. So you'll be able to see, like, are they clocking in from home? Are they clocking in from, 2 miles away from the job site because they're running late? So yeah, with GPS, you can definitely see that.
That's really nice. And then a little bit related, can you track mileage and travel time? Wow.
Oh, love that question. At this point, as of today, we don't yet have mileage tracking, but do you hear that as of today and yet? It is coming. Our developers are actively working on it. I don't have an ETA on it yet, or at this point. Meredith, do you know it? Meredith is here with me, and do you remember from our last meeting if they gave us an ETA on it? I don't think that they did.
They did not yet.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. But so mileage tracking is coming. It is actively being worked on. I just don't have a date that I can disclose.
Okay.
Or that I've been given. I mean, to be honest, I haven't even been given the date.
I totally
know that they're active.
That's great though that the developers are working on that, because I know even in interacting with our clients, people have asked about that. So I know appreciates guys taking that feedback and moving forward with it. So that's great. We'll stay tuned on that. And then the last question I have here, unless anyone else, feel free to keep typing those in. We love them. Does TSheets only work with QuickBooks Online?
Oh, good question. No, we don't. QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop are our oldest and biggest used is, I don't know that that's the right way to put it, but the majority of our clients are on either QBO or QBD, so either online or desktop for QuickBooks. But we do also integrate with Xero, with Thompson Accounting CS. We do have that flat file with Sage 50 and Sage Intact. And a number of different payroll solutions like Gusto, or for our clients up in Canada, WagePoint. We have a lot of flat files built out. Oh, ADP Run, ADP Workforce Now, Paychecks. We can integrate with all of those as well. So yeah, definitely more than just QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, but I would definitely say that the bulk of our employees are on either one of those.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that's all the questions that we had coming in. So I have a couple of closing comments before I take things back from you.
No, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to present. It's such a treat for me to be able to present to audiences like this and be able to just show, what TSheets does, especially TSheets with QBO, and just, be able to kind of hopefully open up some eyes to some of the possibilities out there, ways that we can help you be more efficient and get you spending your time on better things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so sorry, but one more question came in. So
of course.
Wrap up with that one. So what is the lag time for needing to submit TSheets to our payroll account to make sure that the account ID funded for payroll, or the account is funded for payroll, excuse me. We do a monthly payroll on the last day of the month.
Wow. I don't have an answer for that because I'm not sure what your payroll requirement is on that. So what I would say is, check with your payroll solution, see when they need that data, like how many days in advance they need that data, and then just make sure that you have your time from TSheets approved and exported on or before that date. But yeah, that would completely depend on how far in advance the payroll provider needs it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, great. Well, then that truly is it. So again, thank you so much for this presentation today. It was really great. Just really awesome to have you join us today and go through everything. I love your enthusiasm, and I can tell that you love TSheets and out of the box technology. We do as well. I'm happy that you were able to join us today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a great start to my Tuesday.
Oh, good. Awesome. Mine as well. So I'm going to take things back and close it out real quick. I wanted to share with everybody the upcoming webinars that we have here. Again, Technology Tuesdays, we're here almost every Tuesday now, which I'm really excited about. Last year we did every other Tuesday. So this year, topics just are really flying in. So we'll be here next week. One of our co-founders, Andrew Abrams, will be delivering a session on Locate Inventory, which is another app that we've just really built a relationship with. They've done a great job. And so he's going to demo that. And then we have a really cool presentation in 2 weeks on the speed of cash, the solution to financial mismanagement. The money guy over at Finagraph is going to join us and do kind of a business development kind of session with us. So a little off of the technology side of it, but still I think really relevant to a lot of people. So we hope you can join us. Again, these are all completely free sessions, and we would love to have you. You can register online. If you have any questions, if you have a topic you'd like to see us deliver on, or you want us to dive deeper into anything, please do let us know. Again, you can contact me at jennifer@outoftheboxtechnology.com or head over to the website and submit something there. So again, thank you everyone. Debbie and Meredith, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.